Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
Welcome, everybody. Dan, how are you?
Good.
Hold the meeting to order at, what is it, 5:45, 5:55, Bill?
5:55.
5:55, on Monday, January 3rd, 2021, at the town hall. We need a motion to adopt the agenda, but there's one item I'd like to add under the highway report, and that is adoption of the certificate of highway mileage that is left off there. And did somebody make a motion to accept it?
Joe, just a point, it is 2022, on January 3rd,
Oh, okay, yeah,
2022.
22.
And today I received a note from Bill suggesting that because there were no further edits to the personnel policy, we might want to sign that tonight. And we could do that as part of the personnel committee report.
Okay.
If you'd like to do it that way.
Anyway, need a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second, I'm going to second it. Yeah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now, we have the minutes of the last meeting, which was December 20th. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes as presented?
I had a couple of typos, but I don't know if the typos are on. On the first page, where Jack says, in quotes, we are educating kids, but
Where are we going?
first page, number 4,
Okay,
he has a quote, we are educating kids, but the back office needs to be fixed. I don't know what AD is,
That's and.
that's what I thought.
I got it, thank you.
And then on 7, the next page, you've got the last sentence, there was discussion of the need for a new form with the chair insisting that NAY. What did you mean?
I don't know where you are.
The last
Just didn't get
sentence,
You got
first
it.
bullet, the NAY form,
Oh, the very first one.
yeah.
Second one.
Number 7, the first bullet, fourth sentence. What do you mean?
Any form.
And, okay.
Bill, somebody wants to come.
And I did like on your notes, Bill, that you underlined
Phil,
the
just
motion.
in 1 second, somebody wants to come in.
I'm sorry.
Hang on 1 second.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to make a comment on your notes. I like the way you underlined where, folks
Where are
had
we?
made a motion. Just overall in the notes. I like the way you underlined that, so it's, we can see it. Thank you for that.
Are there any other additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, someone make a motion to accept the minutes of December 20th, 2021. Do we have a second?
No, second.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. All right. You're up, Kim.
You got the capital budget?
Yes?
You want to do that?
Yep, okay. We had the capital budget hearing, it was presented, so I guess we need a motion to accept the recommendation of the capital budget, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So will somebody make that motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second to that?
But,
Do we have any discussion on the capital budget as presented to the select board for approval? Barney, you have anything you need to
I
say?
have nothing else to add.
Okay. Then if there are no further discussion, all in favor of adopting the capital budget as presented, to the select board, on January 3rd, 2021.
Are you asking to vote?
I'm asking, is there any further discussion?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. If not, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay.
Bill, you have this.
All right, Hardy, we recommended the budget. And what about what else do you have?
So I don't know, do you want to complete the budget and call it as is, and I can start, I've already done, start entering it for my town report? Are you looking to change anything in any of the line items?
I would like to make a motion. All right, that we do not adopt the 120 hours. We go back to 80. I'd like to also, in my motion, that we do not round up any of the salaries and not accept the 5.9%. That's a motion that I make. Somebody want to second it? You can have discussion. If not, then we move on.
Second.
Okay.
What implication does the 80 versus 120 have on the budget?
The reason, Suzanne, is that, and I didn't focus that night because I was concerned about the rounding up, the adding on to the, which you can, after 8 hours, you can add on.
Are you talking about the replenishment factor?
Yes, so when that was not on the table anymore, and then I think you presented the compromise of 120. I was unclear about it, and so but I did vote for it. But thinking about it now, I voted yes, and I'd like to change my vote if the board accepts that. And with what has happened to the budget by increasing the budget so much, that's one of the reasons why I would like to revisit it. That's one of the reasons.
But I can understand the increase for the 5.9% COLA. But I don't understand the actual change having to do with 80 to 120 on the budget. Kim, could you help me understand that?
The 80 to the 120 shouldn't impact.
Well,
If anything, Joe, what will happen is the overtime budget may increase slightly, but the comp time will be reduced because there won't be replenishment.
well,
May I ask a question, a process question?
well, let me finish. You asked me a
I'm
question.
sorry, I'm sorry.
Well, the real reason is that means there's more comp time. That means we can't have the opportunity to do more work. Because people they can take longer time off. Where with the 80 hours, which we have now, by extending it to another week, so they get one more week of comp time, and I'm against that.
Okay, so let's just be really clear. I have a process question for you. I have sent out at least twice the personnel policy as we agreed to and adopted on 12/20. Kathy and I have sent it out twice, and we have requested feedback and comments on it, and we received none. And my email even said, this is the final proof. Are there any other comments? Are there any other edits? And we didn't hear from you, Joe.
I don't have a problem with the language, and I don't have a problem with the document, I have a problem with the amount. So to me, this is the forum where we have the opportunity now to approve our budget. And so I bring it up. If the board doesn't want to do that, we move on, and we're done, period.
Okay, just so you'll know though, it is a part of the personnel
I
policy.
understand that,
And
but it's also the budget.
the personnel policy that we actually adopted on 12/20.
Right,
And then that's noted in the minutes.
yeah,
So if we changed what you're just talking about, we have to do that at the policy level because we've already adopted this policy.
I'm not sure about that.
Well,
Is that
just take a
correct?
look at the minutes,
Mr.
Joe.
Administrator?
Just take a look at the minutes.
But it doesn't matter under where he makes the motion. If they change, if the intent is, the motion's intent is to change in the policy, the 120 to 80, and then also not round up. That's what's in the motion. If you approve that motion, then to be consistent, when you get to the policy approval, you would amend the policy to do that.
And I just find it very surprising from a select board process standpoint that a major change, such as changing from 120 to 80, which we negotiated, compromised, agreed on December 20th, would not be communicated to the personnel committee until tonight in the form of a motion with respect to the budget. There is no impact of the 80 to 120 reflected in the budget. The only budgetary impact is the 5.9% increase and the roundup. The roundup isn't even in the policy. The roundup is something we have done as a select board as a matter of course, the dollar percent, how the compensation has been administered in the past. But I just ask you to point to in the budget, Joe, where you see an impact from 80 to 120.
I told you, the main reason is the matter that one extra week, that's 3 employees get 1 extra week of comp time, which means they have less time to do work. That's my big issue.
And let me just point out, as we discussed on 12/20, that the change for them is that they can count their overtime using a very broad definition now, and they have a replenishment factor. The change from what it is now to 120 is actually a reduction. I am really very objecting to this.
Well, you can, you have that right, just like I have the right to make an amendment. That's why we have board meetings.
Well,
We all
yeah,
don't have to agree.
I have a question, Joe. You're saying changing 120 to the 80, is that not replenished the 80?
No, no replenishment.
So you do realize, with no replenishment, they're gonna go with overtime and your budget is gonna be higher.
That's okay, but then they can work.
they work anyway to earn the comp time. The definition of how you calculate overtime is
Well, that's
where
okay,
it
Suzanne,
belongs.
you have your feelings and I have mine, so. I
It's
mean,
not a feeling,
it's up to the
though.
board
It's
how they
based on the
approach this
data.
stuff.
It's based on the calculation.
Can I just say something? The rounding up you're talking about also changes. We were looking at 2 of the road crew and myself, it's a difference of $2,500 for the year for everybody.
Total.
About $2,500 for the year. Is what you'd be saving by not rounding up, just letting you know. So
There is
probably
no provision for rounding up in the, and the personnel and the budget has a very minimal effect on the rounding up. I think this is coming out of left field for you, Joe, and you are an advocate of not having things come out of left field in a select board meeting.
This is the final opportunity that we have to approve the budget. And it's just, I made that motion, it was seconded, the board can discuss it, we take a vote, If I get defeated, I get defeated. If it's changed, change. This is how we work.
It is not how we work.
Yes, it is, Suzanne.
You have always advocated.
Suzanne, please, let's not have an argument. I'm entitled to make the motion and I will.
I'm
And I have.
not taking
And
away.
okay, let
You
me
have
speak.
encouraged all of us to work through the committee structure and to be communicative. This is a surprise.
It's a
So
solution.
basically, a lot of discussion happened, so I'm being really careful what I'm saying. A lot of discussion took place in the executive meeting that I think ties into everything, in my opinion. Before I'm asked to make a final decision on something, was the plan to have an executive meeting this evening? About what we were talking, because I think it all ties in. I think there's a big picture here.
No, there was no plan.
I'm uneasy with this whole thing, because some of it is because I don't really understand it 100%, but I'm not at ease the way it went the other night.
Like
So I'm
what?
inclined to.
No, you don't mean about what?
I'm
That's the point.
being real careful what I'm saying. A lot of things were being talked about in executive meeting that obviously I'm not gonna talk about.
No,
And I
no,
think it all ties in.
but, yeah, go.
I guess you're uneasy with the fact, I mean, uneasy with, I don't talk about second date, you're uneasy with what happened that
Yeah,
you're
no,
uneasy.
fine. Executive with what? The discussion, the open discussion?
That,
Executive session is executive session, we're
Yeah.
not talking about that.
well, I tend to agree that, maybe we shouldn't have been so quick to do the 120. I think because of the comments that you had that set it up, that were discussed. I'll be real careful with what I'm saying, because I don't want to violate our executive board, what you were talking about. I think all this ties into a bigger picture, and I think more discussion has to be talked about.
So.
I think I used the words last on the 20th, we got much bigger picture pride.
Well, I'm searching here for a way because Kathy and I, our original proposal was to leave things as they were. This is an extremely important benefit for our employees and it represents a major change. I compromised to 120 because I thought it was a fair thing. John seemed to be the only vote for 80. And it seemed as though we needed to take a step in the direction of bringing in the reins on our comp time policy. The essence of the problem in our comp time policy is the definition of what goes into overtime calculation. And not the hours of comp time as much. Joe was chair of the personnel committee when this definition of comp time was put into place.
No, I wasn't the chair of personnel, we didn't have a chair.
Well, you were part of the
I
personnel.
was part of the personnel committee,
You
but I
were
was
one
not
of
the
two
chair.
people on the personnel committee and you couldn't remember, and Bill filled you in and your memory came back about how we came up with this definition of how to calculate overtime. I think it would be better, rather than limit the hours way down to 80, to look at that definition. I don't know, how do you feel about it, Danny?
Can I ask for a clarification?
Yeah.
To the minutes, Are you talking about the definition that says that holidays?
Sick leave, vacation,
Okay,
holidays, paid
that's
holidays.
what I thought, but I didn't want to.
I have no problem with that.
Okay, wait a minute.
Okay.
I just want to make sure I have that right, so I'm not misquoting you. So that's what you're
Correct.
talking about. Okay,
And
thank
I have no problem with that.
I think this is such a big issue, I mean, can we,
There's another option.
we
And I don't
need
know,
another option.
and I don't know whether it's legal, and we have to talk to the clerk. Is that, we could put this off, approval of this budget item here. And have another, at a subsequent meeting next week, on the 20th, and bring this subject up, whether it be an executive session or not. But we can still, and then if we could have a further discussion on this thing and make it retroactive so that, starting the next pay period, which starts this week, correct?
Yeah.
Okay? You wouldn't accumulate, you wouldn't pay the roundup. And if the board decided to go forward with it, then you could back pay the roundup. And make it take effect on, February 1st or whatever. So that you could still do it, but it would give you more time to discuss it.
So actually, I mean, this budget really doesn't have anything to do with the 120 or the 80, nor probably it's not gonna affect with the round.
No, the 120 and 180 is the pay period, the pay.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, that can go later discussion or executive and move on if you want to postpone doing the personnel policy. And even the rounding up, it's really not gonna change our numbers because I don't think I'm gonna bring the 178 down to 176 because it's a $2,000 difference. I would still leave it at what I figured, even though it's a $2,500 change. I mean, 104 of it would be in my section and then 2,400's in the highway department. It's really not enough to make a difference. I mean, I could drop it down to 176 if you want, 176,000 versus 100, and what did I have, 108? I mean, and then I would just move forward with everything else.
Are we really gonna take away $2,500 of compensation in this way? I mean, we've had a meeting about it, we've had budget meetings about it, we've had personnel policy meetings about it. And on January 3rd, when most of this pretty much has been decided, we're gonna pull the rug out of $2,500 of roundup compensation for our employees.
It just isn't $2,500, it's also the federal taxes and all that too added to it.
Take a look, and I'm sure you have, John, at the expenditure budget in the benefits section. Even with a 5.9% increase.
At least for me, it was more of the
From
information.
54,150 to 55,70.
At least for me, it was more of the information that was accumulated through our executive meeting that I think we need to look at whole. Again, I don't want to use this again, but I think we have much bigger fish to fry from what was presented to us. And again, I think it all ties in. If it was somehow we could put this on hold and hash this out, I don't know.
Well, I tell you what, first of all, I hope everyone heard what Kim said. That the change from 80 to 120 has no budgetary impact. And make that motion as part of the budget. There's not a place you can point to any expenditures that has anything to do with the 80.
Yeah, I'm happy to
the
do
120
whatever.
to 80.
Yeah, I can wait longer, I can whatever.
I think we should, Joe, I really,
Honestly, if it was just a $2,500, it'd be a very simple decision.
the very,
But I think, again, I think it's a little larger than that. I mean, if
we also agreed to review it in December 2022. We had a specific motion in the minutes to review the comp time provision at 120 on December 2022, to give ourselves a year to see how that would work, going from complete, no guidelines at all, complete replenishment, which is the way the policy was adopted in 2009, down to 120. We gave ourselves a year to see how that would go. Why don't we give it that year and see how it goes? And do what we said we were gonna do on December 20th when we adopted this policy. It says right on the policy that I sent out to you. It says right on that policy to review it in December of 2022. Review section 28 to be reviewed December 2022. This is 120 is a way for us to experience what the actual overtime cost will be if we do away with unleashed comp time. And we may be surprised. I think we're much safer going with 120 from a budgetary standpoint. And we have an integrity issue here too, I think. We adopted a personnel policy on 12/20.
No, I think you're right about that. The unfortunate part is, I think if, I probably wouldn't have voted that way if we had the executive meeting beforehand, unfortunately. It sounds like, well, it's either go with the 80 or go with the 120 and have periodic meetings once a month is to keep this on the agenda. I'm not sure.
And we'd be happy to do that. People have already made up their minds. You saw it on the warrants, they're already cashing out their comp time for the year based on the decision we made on 12/20.
So what we were discussing the other night that seemed so vitally important to me, that's not going to be discussed this evening?
It's not possible
What is
to
that?
go into,
Well, I
No,
don't really want to say it.
no, there's no executive session, there was no executive session. You gotta be careful with the executive sessions, you just can't have them, there has to be a good reason.
Well, there is an executive session there. Suzanne asked me for the purpose, and the reason I didn't put the purpose in it, because I have no idea what you want to say, so. So if you're gonna go to the executive session, I sent you the law, or I can go get it, and you decide under what section, if you have a section that fits, under what section you want to have an executive session, and you can have the executive session.
so there are three things. One is the personnel policy. There's no going into executive session to discuss personnel policy. Their job descriptions don't need to go into to executive session for that. When we start talking about performance of individual employees, we can go into executive session for that purpose because there is a disciplinary subsection. And we can invoke that subsection and we can go into executive session to talk about performance. But we're not prepared to talk about performance tonight. We're going to do that next in the January 17th. We got agreement from Joe to move that to January 17th. But we are going over job description tonight. And,
So what was presented to us the other night, we're gonna hash out on the 17th, is that what you're saying?
part we're gonna do tonight, we'll do the job descriptions tonight. That's on the agenda, personnel committee job descriptions, discussion and decision.
I don't know if I'm mixing two issues into one or not, I'm not sure. I mean, as far as $2,500 goes, I mean, to me, $2,500 is a lot of money, but.
It's spread out over 3
Yeah,
employees.
no, I mean, I don't think that's a game changer one way or the other, but again, I'm kind of looking at the whole picture, what was talked about and what was brought in front of us.
I see some confusion here, quite frankly. I think I can speak for myself, but I think I can also speak for perhaps for Rich, as a new person. I think we didn't discuss this whole topic enough. And I think it was just, and I agree with Rich, we should have had the executive session first. Things came out there, whatever, and it didn't. So I'm willing to withdraw my motion, if the second is, and move on. And then, we will discuss this further on the 17th, in executive session for the concerns that we have.
Sounds fair.
That sounds good. So meanwhile, do we have a personnel policy?
Well, hang on, we're not there yet.
Okay, all right. Good. Thank you, Joe.
But now that I've withdrawn my motion, we need a motion to accept the budget as presented. Yes,
Second half of the draw.
oh, yeah. Kathy, you have to withdraw if you want to. If you don't, then we're going to withdraw.
I was fine.
Okay. So we need a motion to adopt the budget now that has been presented to us.
Well, do you really need to, Bill, do they really need to actually adopt it? Just give me the okay and then we do the warning, isn't that at the time that?
Yeah, you don't adopt the budget, the people adopt the budget, you
Okay.
approve the budget for the town meeting.
Right, you'll approve the warning. So for right now, you're like giving me the blessing to go ahead
Okay,
and figures that
that's
we
fine.
all discussed.
That works for me.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, so there's no motion.
Okay. I don't have to worry. We don't, do you have anything else you want to talk about?
Did you take a look at the revenue portion of it? You understood
Yeah, there's not
how-
much you can do about it.
Right, and you understood how I came about where the most important thing you look at is what we're gonna get from property tax. Very first line item. And that's where you can see the little bit, it's a little bit of a difference. 26, the very first line on the page 1 of the revenue. Do you need a copy or do you have a copy? I sent you one last
I
night.
would have brought my laptop if I did. Yeah,
The 907,
Pardon?
are you looking at the 878 versus the 907?
You're right, the 907.
I'm happy to share my copy with it.
Okay.
So that makes a big difference.
believe it or not, I actually. Yep.
And there's nothing here, we're gonna be paying the school.
Yeah, the school.
But that's a whole different-
Nothing
that's
there.
That's a little enough.
So once I get all of this, then I can start plugging in the numbers to come up with and Hardy usually is pretty good about trying to figure out what the school might be, without the school really telling us yet.
Right.
But I'll be able to use these figures and then give you what our possible tax rate's gonna be.
What's your sense of it, Ken?
I'm assuming, I haven't even plugged them in, but I'm thinking at least, probably 3 cents
Total?
total
For
Just-
now.
Went to school or after school?
with after school. This is just for the government portion.
Kim, do we have any provision in the town for people who live on fixed incomes or does everybody get taxed exactly the same?
Tax exactly the same. And if they can't make, if we try and make provisions when it comes to quarterly payments, if they'd rather do them in monthly installments, we take monthly installments and makes it easier for quarterlies. And then again, if, they become late, there's not really any provision for taking it off in 1 and 1.5. Just if you go into the delinquency, that's where you work out a provision with the delinquent accounts.
Thank you.
There's no veterans benefits or incentives for veterans under tax.
Only if they are disabled and it comes down to the state and to the lister's office, and we have one, and then they get a deduction from their assessed value, which brings down what they would get taxed on.
All right, so are we okay here then?
Yeah, I'll do the numbers.
When I was looking at, I'm sorry, when I was looking at this afternoon, the town pool, I see you pulled out for the testing, but there's still something, money in there for the town pool. Are we doing something with there still?
Are we mowing?
I don't know about, I figured it all out.
It's the
No,
most-
the testing is off.
Yeah, but the pool's closed, so we don't use it anymore.
I think there was still something in your,
That's for, mowing,
Mowing.
the 500, yes, the 500.
got it, got it.
All right, so can we move on for the clerk and treasurer, or can you need something else from us?
I sent you the, revenue and expenditure for the quarterly, that we're in right now. Believe it or not, quarterly ended December 30th for you guys, so if you want to review that, have any questions, just give me a call.
Okay.
Then at least you know where we stand this year. That's it.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else for Tim?
Did you get my email, Ken?
For the report, I did, I got it done. Yeah.
Perfect. Sorry it was so late.
No, that's okay, I haven't even started mine.
Good.
You guys are way ahead of me, I'm doing
Good.
everything else.
You got my draft,
I got your draft,
and
Bill's been
Bill
working
and
on
I
it.
are gonna work on it, and,
Yeah, I didn't have.
no, it's okay. I just wanted to let you know that I'm prepared.
Just feel free to tweak it, Ken, feel free to tweak it if you need to.
Yeah, looks okay.
All right,
I put a title on it.
all right, good, thank you.
Dan, you here? Okay. Then what do you have, anything you wanna talk about, other than the FEMA and the accessory weight permits?
I do the highway report at the very end under others. And,
We can do it now.
alright, so I guess the first thing is you see I'm wearing a mask. One of the guys, won't say names, at the shop was in contact with a positive test person. I don't know if they're supposed to come to work tomorrow, I just found this out today, or what's the rule on that. The way I understood it is if you're not having symptoms and you have all your vaccinations, you're free to work until you have symptoms.
Also wear a mask.
Yeah.
What we sent out to you before, when Mike was an issue with Mike, that came from the health department.
And that's not even updated.
It's not an updated one, Mike sent us now.
There's been a new one since then already.
There's a new one?
Well, now it's only 5 days.
Update.
5 days.
Okay, but it says, it defines what is contact with the person, so. I mean, I'm not getting into the 5 days, I'm getting into the
It
contact.
was for the time period for con.
Okay, did it raise an issue based on that standard that is in there? I'm not understanding.
It's a new person.
I know, it's a new person, but does it say, if you run into a person that has this description, you are then in quarantine, or does it say more?
All I know is this person was in contact for more than 15 minutes or a half hour or more with a person that just tested positive of COVID.
Okay, are the standards just that contact, or then with symptoms? Okay, we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Well, I need to call one of the guys back tonight, let him know if he can
Well,
work.
after the meeting, I'll look at it and let you know if you're not still here.
Okay.
Okay?
My understanding of this bill is if the person has no symptoms, if he's masked, it's okay, if he's been vaccinated, he's okay to go to work. I believe that's true.
That's what I
Yeah.
heard too.
That's what I remember from it, yeah.
Yeah. Prior to FEMA, I saw the email she sent about getting that signed for all the projects. I don't see the beginning of the project and what we already gave.
Right.
So I think that ought to be signed sooner than later.
The only issue, and I want to bring this up, just as not to discuss it tonight, not to completely decide what you want to do with it, but I want to bring this up. I raised it with the state today on the emails that I sent to all of you. And if you saw those emails, you know what the issue is. And that is, we are more than doubling the size of the culverts and widening them. So now as the stream settles out and gets used to the new size culverts, and you can see it on Hinky Brook, and I think it's a good thing. It's widening out and settling down, but it is widening out. So the people down below these big culverts, and this will be anybody that's below any big culvert anywhere in town, may have issues. For instance, Cannon and Patrick Cooperman. Because instead of the water coming down the road, tearing up the road and finding its own way down to the river, it's staying in the creek and going from 28 square feet of opening to 70 square feet of opening in the case of the culvert at my house, about the same at the one that's above me. And if we replace the other two, it's going to be about the same there. So we save the roads, but the people down below have an issue. And I think the state should do something. That's why I raised it with the state. They said, well, this isn't, FEMA doesn't have that. I said, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, if you're gonna make culverts bigger, in the middle of a town, if you make a bridge bigger, you also allow them to build a big stone wall so it doesn't tear down the town. You're not doing anything like that for residents. So I don't know what'll come of that. I don't know if you want to do something, and I would think about it because we have some time to do it. Do you want to do anything to help the Patrick Cooperman, who does have help from an NRCS, and that's about $8,500. His share is about 22 or something like that, 21, 22. Or do you want to help him with his share? I'm not asking you that tonight. I think it's something to think about, because I think Patrick should come in, you guys should talk to him about it. Because I think, because of what we did on, what the town did on Firetown Road, and what we did elsewhere, you've increased what goes by Patrick's house.
Jim, close the doors, that's us doing it.
You've increased what goes by Patrick's house. We have increased and then with our new culverts, the state has increased what is coming from that creek, and it's substantially different.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, if you had a 12-inch pipe, and you extend the 12-inch pipe, but you leave 4 foot at the end, you got a problem. Because you can't put 12 inches of water in a 4-inch pipe or 6-inch pipe that was not replaced. So you're doing the same thing with the streams. You're making the culverts bigger, the water flows better. So down the line, something's gonna happen, because eventually it's gonna cause a problem.
But I really don't want to discuss it tonight.
I know.
I want everybody to think about it, and let's have a discussion, because it's a really important discussion. And it's gonna be a state discussion. It needs to be brought up with the legislature. The legislature needs to get involved with it, because they make these rules, and then we have to live by them.
Yeah. Okay.
But, okay, getting back to the FEMA thing. We are fairly certain, John and Danny and I, that we are 100% certain, right? That all our damage has been reported to FEMA.
The only thing that we have reported, and she brought up that it is a real hard one to do, is debris. We have, I think, $400 maybe in debris disposal, but I would leave it off, because like she said, you know, the work and all the different guidelines and what you have to do to get that is, it's unreal. So, and that debris is just like the culverts that we had to dig out because they were plugged, they were disposed of.
Okay, but if we were to ask for the debris, it's still connected to the same 12 site, well, I mean,
Right, we could connect it to.
20 or 30 sites that we have.
Right.
Okay, what they're saying is, are there any other
No.
sites that are damaged? Not how much is damaged, but are there any other sites? We don't know that. And I wrote her back and said that to her, that we're sure that we have. The only thing that we don't have is an estimate of the cost of replacing the culvert on Ledge Road. We don't have any idea because they haven't done the hydraulics and hydrology.
Yep.
Okay, so I think we can sign off on that. I need to, who's our person on that website, me?
Believe so.
Okay,
Kim, I tell you.
I can't remember, so whoever it is, I'll look at that. We need to sign off by the
Well, as long as you guys, Ken and you and John and Michelle and everybody agree, then there's no reason not to say.
Yeah, so we'll sign, I'll do it tomorrow. Okay.
You have the, weight permit for PJF.
I have the weight permit for TJ Paul, Frigate, TJ, and I have the check and everything. What I don't have, and I called him today to send to us by email, the certificate of insurance. It didn't come with it. And so I've asked him for that. But I'd like to have you approve the excess weight permit for PJF Trucking and Logging LLC for this year through the end of next March, all the way through to March is when.
So when I make a motion, to accept Bill's motion or whatever. So we have a second,
I'll second.
okay? Do we have any other discussion on the credit for J and F trucking? And I think you have the authority to sign that, so it's not an issue for
I
you.
do, got it.
So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Do you have anything else, Danny?
And then the next, hopefully starting tomorrow, we're gonna try fixing some of the roads that got rutted up with such warm weather from week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and then again this weekend. Looks like we're gonna have a storm, nothing much on Wednesday, but Friday possibly. And, we've been working on getting the passive right up done. I think we have a few depot left to do, which I'm waiting for the parts for that. And then see what next week brings. If it's open, we're gonna start cutting brush.
That sand was pretty expensive, wasn't it?
What's that?
That sand,
Oh, yeah,
that was pretty expensive.
yeah,
I was surprised.
yeah. But I was also the snow plow edge too, but yeah, just the gearbox alone was what priced it.
Why do the machinery never surprise me?
Bill?
Do you know if Detail took care of that manhole
They
cover?
have not done anything. I asked Russell Record if he would look at it. He has a portable welder. I told him I didn't care if he welded the cover shut. I told him about it a year ago.
I'm sorry, you
I talked to Russell Record about it, because he has a portable welder, and I told him I didn't care if he welded the cover right shut. We talked to them a year ago on that cover coming up out of it. It's moving all around in there still, and it's only a matter of time before it comes back out.
Okay, I'm gonna tell them that we intend to weld it shut unless they fix it.
It needs to be secured, that's for sure.
It's gonna kill somebody.
It's come out twice, so.
Where is it located, Dan?
Just beyond School Street, there's a V-tail manhole cover where they have a lot of their phone connections down under the road. Last winter, I caught it with a plow and come out and went down the road about 150 feet. It's a 2.5, 3 foot round cover. It probably weighs 300 pounds. David got it the year before and it come out. And if you hit it just right driving over with the dump trucks, you can hear it, move or clatter. And then if you look at it, it's always tipped, next time you might go back and you tip it back the other way, so. Whether they wanna put a new cover on it or what, but they
Something
told
like-
us they had a technician come out and took care of it. The last time you called them. You tell it's terrible.
Stuff like that, because we're aware of it, if something does happen, it's on us,
Yep.
that should be a priority.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else, Danny?
I will copy you with my email and the board.
Jamie, I would, if he has it, I'd have it welded.
Absolutely,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
I called him tender last week and I haven't heard back from him.
He's too busy, give Chris Carroll a call.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I agree with, Rich. Now that we know about the problem.
It's on us.
And we don't do it, then it's on us, and we neglect,
Yeah.
very negligent. Anything of Danny? Danny, 121's got a lot of potholes in it, I can pay that.
That's might be one of our bad ones.
I know. Okay, if it has nothing more for Danny, do you want still Danny to stay, Bill, after the meeting to discuss the situation? Or are you happy with it?
No, I got it.
You can just message me or whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know what it is. I know what the situation is. I'll look up the standards and I'll let you know tonight at home.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
What I can't remember about the COVID thing is if it was a school thing or a state thing, whatever I was reading, there was some verbiage in there that, if you got vaccinated Pfizer or the other one starts with an M, more than 6 months ago, you had to have the booster or you were considered unvaccinated. If you got vaccinated more than 6 months ago. I can't remember if I was reading that through the state or the school
I don't remember that in the.
policy. It may be a school thing there.
Yeah, school does follow a little bit different guidelines.
Yeah,
If it's more than 6 months, then I think you need to stay home.
I just read that over the weekend, that there's a time limit, and if you pass that time limit, you need to get the booster.
you need the booster.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was 6 months or 8 months, but there was a time limit.
I think they're saying 6 months, you were considered unvaccinated.
Yeah, I
Without the
know,
booster.
for federal travel, if you're gonna travel abroad,
No,
then, and you have to have proof, and if your vaccination is more than 6 months old, then you have to get the booster.
yeah, no.
I don't know if that applies to, here, but if foreign travel.
No. I'm over this COVID, let's,
Yeah, that's right.
Remember that.
Okay. Thank you, Dane. Committee reports, the cemetery committee. You want to do it or so? Okay, we have a correspondence from the individual who owns the property near the Hopewell Cemetery. And, he, I guess his attorney, Bill sent the letter in, I think, or was it him? He was?
The attorney, he sent an email, said the attorney asked,
Yeah, okay,
he's not sure that he's gonna do it, but he wanted to know, to answer two questions.
yeah, right.
One was, what is our proposal for the finances of it? And two is, are we gonna cut the right of way, the trees on the right of way, whether or not we buy or he gives us that cemetery?
What's done all right?
Well, those are the two questions.
Yeah.
The answer was, make us an offer. We don't have any financial proposal. And with regard to the right of way, it isn't on our land. We don't have a thing to do with that right of way. It's up to you.
So we'll see how he responds to that.
Right.
That's another,
Ricardo, the landowner of the land abutting
owns the right of way.
owns the right of way.
So how do you access the cemeteries if you don't have the right of way?
Pardon me?
How does he access the land? Well, it goes through the
So
cemetery.
what he does right now to get to his
It
land,
goes through the
he
cemetery.
goes to the cemetery.
Yeah.
There's a driveway to the older section where it's kind of fenced off. You turn right, there's a road that goes right, it goes onto that right of way, goes through the the rock wall onto that right of way. If you turn left, you're gonna run into trees, you can't get to it. You turn right and you go up on that right of way, then he goes onto his land, and there's a road that goes all over his land. But he doesn't, no, we don't have anything to do with that right of way. What we told him when we walked it is, in consideration of him giving us the land, or giving us the land, or selling us the land at a better price than otherwise would be, we would consider, when we remove the trees to make a cemetery out of that land, because there's quite a few trees to remove, we would clear his land. That's what we offered to him, but we don't, but we could tell him, I think, we could tell him, if you are gonna, it's okay to use the cemetery now because it's been used this way forever, that way in. But if he subdivides that there, you tell him he's gotta use his own right away.
He's got over right away, like he was something with that.
He's got a big right away.
So we just wait, we have to wait and see how he responds and what he decides to do or anything. Whether he's gonna charge us, $500 an acre, or he's gonna give it to us, or.
How many acres is it?
Well, we're looking for about three and a half acres. Yeah, of his land.
We walked it with him and told him exactly the section we're talking about. And it goes, the back of the Hopeville Cemetery goes down to the river, the slide in the back does. And that rim goes along. So it's probably 200 feet deep where his rock wall is, and then it goes like this. So we wanted to go along this rock wall, then go up, and then meet the bridge up above. So it's probably 2 acres.
We still have to do some test pits there too, to see.
I'm sorry, Joe, I didn't
We
hear.
still have to see some test pits to see if there's ledge or whatever, but we can't do that until we have some kind of agreement.
Yeah.
It would be nice if he came up with a price that's reasonable and we'd offer to do that right away, or clear some stuff on it. Makes it,
Can I ask a question, no, with regards to something else that came up? Did anybody follow up on that Fort Chimneys Road?
Oh, no, we have not. No, we haven't. That's the Rochelle property.
I don't think it's too much to follow up on.
Yeah, I don't think it's, I know that, that was my land, and I own part of that, and, that's almost as bad as going up to the Fisher lots up there. To get a road in there, and it's problematic, because you have to go by the guy's house, and I don't think it's a good
Yeah,
idea.
traffic by people's houses, but, yeah, I think it's anything.
Okay. Highway committee?
I think, Bill brought up an item he wanted to. I think that's where you want to put the certificate. Highway pilot.
No, we already did that. No.
No, I
Oh,
don't.
no.
The highway
Yeah, we can do
mileage.
that now. Yeah,
I think that's what you're gonna do in the section, Bill.
we got the certificate here, that needs to be signed by the select board. Bill did check it, so it's accurate. It's a matter of motion to, I guess, to sign it, correct?
Yeah, it matches the 2021 mileage, 2021 mileage changed by 1.32 when we added that legal trail up by Otis Road. Well, we didn't change anything this year, so it should remain exactly the same. And all those figures are the same. You could compare 2021 and 2022 that I sent you.
So somebody make a motion to, set the, highway, certificate as of February 10th, 2021. Okay, second, do we have a second?
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Suzanne, you can start and sign it and pass it around.
Okay.
It has to be signed by the board and then Kim.
Just sign small in this, so everybody can sign.
Yeah.
That's, they didn't read my things,
The park committee, there's nothing new. There's still nothing from the loggers, so the weather is not cooperative, so I don't think anything's gonna happen there. Now, we have the personnel committee next. If it might be a good idea to do the buildings and the wastewater, because the personnel will take some time and we can clear the decks there.
Sounds good.
The building committee, I think, Bill, you already kind of told us that,
the buildings, there isn't, I think, well, I can't remember, but I think I talked to you about, all right, Daniel Wilson wrote, and he's ready to go ahead with the designs for with all the designs, so we can send it out to bid. He wrote and asked me if we had a bidding policy. I sent him my purchasing policy. He has a bid package that is about that thick. And I told him that here's what our bid package usually looks like, you know, one page. But, there's a lot of things that architects and those people like to add in there. So it's probably gonna be different than he does, but a lot of that is boilerplate that we just puts in. But anyway, he has a bid package, and he knows what we've done before for request for proposals, so he's ready, he's getting that ready to send out, but more importantly, he's finishing up the plans for the construction. Before I send everything back to him, that we had talked before I sent it back to him, I reminded him that heat pump is there on the wall. And, and he can see in all the pictures from his, robot, when they did their stuff, they have a picture of this whole building, and you can go on the building and walk around the building. So you can look at the wall, and there's electrical, there's the fire alarm. That's what I remembered, and I said, so you need to make sure there ain't anything else there, because if you don't call it out in the contract, and the contractor starts working on it, and you say, you need, you forgot about this, he pulls out his extra sheet, gives you a thing saying this will be the extra cost to do that. Otherwise, they bid on it, you could do it as it's true. The contract, the construction is not anything really complicated. If they're willing to meet work schedules and do it timely, anybody in town who is a contractor could do it. Anybody that has the skills to do it. And then you need an electrician, that would be part of their bid to do the work done, but it's not a complicated construction. It's not a heavy duty thing.
And what about the water pump?
Oh, the heat pump is going to install that. His price was $13,990, his estimate. He's holding to that estimate. He asked us to send, he's gonna come in 2 weeks, probably. He has one of the 2 units that go up here, and he asked to come in, and he asked for payment for half of it. And so, and Tim asked me to ask him, and I did, and he will send an invoice for the job, and we press that in the past to close the agreement when he did it.
I only got one.
He's only got one. So by the time he starts, he might have to, he didn't tell me that, but they're coming in.
well, I'm not sure if this falls into the building, but a year or so ago, we all decided that we were told by our IT company that we needed to upgrade our internet and all our wiring and all those kind of things. So where does that stand? And as I understand from Bill, I'm not very happy with our company, and I guess maybe you aren't. Is it time to change?
I don't have a problem with them. I mean, they've always answered me when I needed them, and I rarely need them. But they are there for me whenever I have. They're supposed to come next Thursday, because they need somebody to come and look at who could do the wiring, because it's a different contractor that actually does the wiring, and then very few of them that do it. they do all the putting in of the programs and everything once it comes from downstairs up, but that downstairs coming up is complicated and very few people do it. So the contractor needs to come back and, because it's been so long, double check, make sure, and give them an estimate of what it's gonna cost to move it, and that's next Thursday at 11 o'clock, I think, they're gonna be here. So it's kind of moving forward very slowly.
What I don't like, what I did not like is the guy left suddenly. And it's internal to them. Let me first say, what Kim said about the workers, they are terrific. The techies are terrific. I don't have any problem with the techie, I don't have any problem with response or anything. And, I'm kind of disappointed I'm kind of, not disappointed, I'm kind of iffy about the management of the company, because the guy left suddenly. And this lady, this person, Nat, I don't know if it's a lady or not, but this person, Nat, who is now coming to see us along with the wiring person, knew nothing about it, had no documentation, had nothing, they got a bid from the guy who was supposed to wire it, because that's all part of it. We talked earlier, couldn't we just go have somebody do the wiring? No, if they don't accept the wiring, then it's all shot. So they gotta have a special person do the special wiring. And they knew nothing about all this stuff, and they had no idea what the plans are, and they asked, well, why are you doing this? And
Well, they made the recommendation.
we said, wait a minute, you're the one that told us we needed to do this. So anyway, so we got off on a bad foot. So anyway, we'll see when they come, but I think that perhaps it was just.
I think he just got caught up in a wrong situation
Yeah.
of somebody leaving.
And he didn't leave it on good terms, and we just were caught in the middle, and probably he didn't leave his files with everybody else, so I think that's.
Yeah, and we kind of got caught in it.
Is this, going to be funded by the ARPA funds as well? The wiring?
Not from our.
Where's that going to be coming?
This is a Homeland Security grant, which does have something in the grant that says, because, okay, let me start over. This grant was applied for like in the summer of last year to be gotten to them by November, but they weren't going to award it till this November. And so in that there is some phrase about increasing price. So I'll look at that again, but I was waiting to see if they push it up. Hopefully they'll pick up where we thought they left off and just do it, because it really needs to be done, and to protect us from problems with cybersecurity.
But if there is an increase, our ARPA funds should be able to cover,
Oh, yeah.
because it's now written in ARPA. At the time, we weren't getting ARPA funds. And this was brought up even before Homeland Security had any type of a grant. But they brought it up saying, cybersecurity is gonna be really a hot ticket here, and we on this. We started and then nothing happened for over a year. And then all of a sudden, all the cyber attacks started happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when we got back on the ball again and said, hey, listen, we're being leave off here. And then the ball started rolling, and then ARPA started.
Okay, thank you.
So is there a window of time we have to get all this work done with this thing? Is there a time limit?
Bill knows the timeline.
There's plenty of time to do it. It's either the fall of this coming year, of this year. Oh, yeah, the fall of this year, or the end of the year. Okay, but there's plenty of time, because it isn't a big job, and it shouldn't take him, he shouldn't be here 2 or 3 days. All you gotta do is run some wires 20 feet, go up a wall, and have them come out, and then they bring in a metal cabinet, fix that to the wall, run all the wires to all the fancy stuff they put inside the metal cabinet, lock it and go. I mean, it isn't a complicated thing.
And will that help us with connectivity up here?
Pardon me?
Will that help us with our connectivity here? with the Wi-Fi.
But I'm gonna ask them to address it.
I think that's a great idea, Kim.
it might because the Wi-Fi might be located
Way down,
in that room instead of in the basement.
yeah, way down now, so.
It might,
The other building needs, what about the ramp out here, the exit?
the architect told me when he had sent the stuff, before he sent the last plan, I thought I told you guys that, to put it off, don't worry about it, no one's gonna bother you with it, just put it off until, to get all this done and then do it.
And that's when I also thought that would be a time, I brought up that maybe capital budget can start putting money towards restoration again. You know, fixing up the town hall again, and maybe that could help somewhat.
So that wouldn't come under
That could be our,
Could
COVID?
be offered.
it would be our, for the use of this room, but he said, just,
Okay,
you
I
know.
just don't want us to forget.
He said within a 5-year plan, you should probably consider.
You're being
Not me no more.
that has been toned.
Okay.
Okay, the next thing is the wastewater committee. You all seen the stuff that was sent out.
Yeah, and I sent him, I think I copied you with that email from the other day, and I sent it to Jim, and I said,
They didn't answer.
we agree, everything will be done by Lynette, send to us, and then, send to us, then Aaron's gonna sign it, send it to us, and then sign it.
But they haven't
I haven't heard the word.
No, and
So
then,
is the deadline not tonight then? Is it gonna be on the 17th?
They talked about two different deadlines, yeah, and they said we'll still meet the deadline. This is what Lynette said at our meeting on the phone. We'll still meet the deadline, and then, that's why we'll get everything done, but they don't have a problem with
it's
it.
in their hands because we met with them and they promised us that it was gonna be here, was the week before Christmas, wasn't it, or the week between Christmas and New Year's? And they never showed up. So,
So I was just a little confused reading your email, Bill, because it said either the select board is gonna sign this document tonight if it needs to be done now, or you're gonna receive information from Lynette and Aaron, and in which case we would sign those documents on the 17th.
right.
So
But we
are
haven't-
we on the 17th schedule now?
Apparently.
Obviously. So
Because-
Lynette and Aaron have not responded to you?
No,
But I wanna say this, if they say you gotta do it by Friday,
then we don't have a.
we don't have a special meeting to do it,
Mhm.
okay?
Okay,
But they haven't given me, us anything back.
But they were supposed to, they promised us that we were gonna have it in hand, and that's why it's on the agenda, but
okay.
it's not, so.
And then you saw the email from Matt, right?
I did. Now, attached to the email that you sent out regarding the contract were 3 attachments.
Yeah.
And one of them looked like it was a contract with Ty and Bond. Is that correct?
There is an agreement with Time Bond for this, yes,
And is that something that we're gonna be signing?
yes.
Eventually, yeah.
That we're gonna be signing that contract with Ty and Bond?
If you guys.
And are we going to have a chance to go over that
You're-
with you
That's why I sent it to you.
tonight?
No,
No, not tonight.
I mean, that's why I sent,
17th?
yeah,
Okay,
or
just, I
whenever.
didn't know what
they-
the timing was,
Yeah.
because I did take a look at the contract and I did have some questions about it.
Yeah.
But if we do that on the 17th.
Well, if you have
that's
some
fine.
questions about it, and you can write them to me now, so that I
There's
can
gonna be-
send it to Aaron and Lynette
So
right
write to
now.
the questions ahead of time kind of thing?
Well, yeah, so that they have them before that meeting, so they can answer them now.
Okay, I'd be happy to do that. And then, yeah, so when I read the contract from Ty Bond, it did not, as Joe and as I got in touch with you in advance about, it did not seem to take into consideration the work that had been done by the Water Study Commission. It seemed to jump from 2001 to 2020. without taking into consideration the work that had been done by the Water Commission. And that work is very important in terms of scoping the work, because in the drinking water test and in the sewer test, we were able to identify the high priority properties, the high risk properties, 70 in the village. We have data on these. And as I look through the work plan for Ty and Bond, it seemed to me that some of this work would either be complemented or not have to be done by the engineer if they plug into the work that had already been done by the Water Study Commission. And the document that Matt sent to the select board today seems to confirm that, because there's specifics on the scope of work in this document. So I think that the next step that I'm recommending is somehow the Water Committee and Matt need to connect. And it seems that would be valuable to the town if they would connect before signing this contract with Ty and Bond. So we do take full advantage of the work that's already been done with an eye towards saving money.
Okay,
on this contract.
I'm not sure that if I'm an engineer, I would accept the work that was done.
Right.
Okay, that's number one. But number two, I will send that to her, but she responded to the RFQ. That was the RFQ.
Yeah.
So I mean, she's aware of that.
Yeah, when we had our discussion, she is aware of the fail wells and all that kind of stuff.
So in the contract, it has actually marked out if the owner has not identified specific potential solutions for study and evaluation. I think we have identified specific potential solutions for study and evaluation through the Water Commission. And so I'm suggesting that you take a look along with Aaron at this part of the contract.
Okay.
Okay, and I can give you the specifics of where I found that wording in the contract.
Yeah.
And again, it says that, in the contract, it says that there will be, provide owner's responsibility, provide the engineer with all criteria and full information as to the owner's requirements for the project. To my mind, the requirements of the project can be enhanced by using this information from the Water Commission, and that's specifically called for in the contract.
Okay.
Okay? And then the other thing is, it seems like there's going to need to be a resident project representative assigned. And I don't know how we're going to handle that as a town, and that's not a subject for tonight.
I don't think we're there yet.
You're right, Joe, there are some steps. You have to go to step one, step two, that could be farther down the
We
road.
don't even know whether we're gonna get the funds yet. I mean, that's still,
Well,
I mean, they've been promised, but we don't know.
right, and so the timing of specifically in the contract, it says, we can start now if you want us to start now. And then it goes so many days out, so many days out, so many days out from there. So I think we're gonna have to be really clear about when we get the money.
Oh, we've
when
been
we-
really, no, everybody's on the same page. We're not, that contract takes no effect until the money is guaranteed.
Okay, well, you might want to just double check that wording then in the contract. It may be because so much boilerplate is used that we have to be careful that,
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna send the contract to the attorney anyway, so.
Okay. So yeah, so those were just some of the points that I picked up, and I think it would really behoove the town to, or the Water Committee to get in touch with Matt and to plug into his knowledge about the project and the specifics to answer these two aspects of the contract and see if it helps us
Okay.
advance the.
He's been involved all along.
There's a little,
But Matt has been involved all along?
there's a little issue that I reached out to Matt, at Walter's, parade, and I asked him that, if he would be willing to come in, and he said, no, I'm not willing. I said, why? He said, I've getting too much static from the community, from this project, and he said, I didn't want to be associated with it anymore. And I told him to reconsider. I said, let me know, and I will reach out to him again, and once he gets a little more down the line, but he was not receptive.
Well, he certainly responded to the email request for information
Well, yeah, but
quickly
he
today.
didn't want to become
And I
part
don't
of
know
the.
what he means, and I'm not gonna speculate what he means.
I don't either, I didn't, that's what he said.
But he worked on the committee to go through the answers to the RFQs and to pick the engineer. So he's been involved.
Well, good,
Yeah.
good. Well, he's a terrific resource, and I hope that he, engages with us on it.
I hope so too, I mean, I've reached out to him, and I will continue to reach out to him.
Great.
Okay, so now we're at the, personnel committee. How do you plan to do this?
Can I do other business or just?
Yeah, sure.
And then I'm gonna go.
Okay.
Hang around for all that.
Okay.
Just let you know, Fred's coming, at the next select board meeting,
On the 17th?
yeah, the 18th, because the 17th is Martin Luther, so the next meeting.
Yeah, that's
should be the 18th.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I'm, inviting him, Bill's gonna send an invite, he'll probably be by Microsoft Teams, because he's got
Okay.
another meeting that same night.
Okay,
So we'll go over the audit then, and, I sent you the
I
draft
got it.
for your eyes only, and once he, approves everything, then it'll be out for the public. That's it, just wanted to let you know Fred was coming.
Okay, so we'll put it on the agenda.
It'll be the 18th, so the 17th.
Yeah, I guess so. I looked at the thing and I said, well, is it, are we gonna move it to Tuesday? Martin Luther King, that big of a deal, but it's up to the
Well,
board.
what it is, it's because it's a day
It's
off.
your
that Bill
policy.
doesn't come
Yeah,
out.
it's our policy, so that would be the 18th.
Yeah, so he'll be coming at that point.
Okay. All right, so how does the personnel committee plan to do these job descriptions?
So I think we just need to talk for a second about what do we want to come out of this process with? And are we planning to, which I think is a good idea, but that's just my opinion. Are we planning to also, work with a person, like, for example, tonight Bill is here. We could go through his job description, we could ask questions about it, and try to understand what it means, what the specifics of it mean, and come out at the end of the discussion with a revised job description for the town administrator, and one that we all agree on, including Bill. The only thing that I think will be a challenge to finalizing it is that there are certain job responsibilities that have to do with both Danny and Bill, and we need to talk about how those are gonna sort those out, the roles and responsibilities that are associated with things like grants and contracts and stuff like that. But my recommendation would be everybody has the job description in front of them, and we just step through it with Bill and comment on it, roles and responsibilities. I don't know, Kathy, did you have?
I guess what I did, send an email out to each of the board members to look at job descriptions and look at how they might cross over, like Bill has to work with Danny, Danny has to work with Bill, what are their roles, what are the responsibilities, and when you look at the role, where they connect and work together, is that role spelled out, so there's no controversies between the two. You know, well, you do this, and you do this, like he said, she said, kind of deal shouldn't happen, it should be a smooth working relationship. And then you have, the road foreman and his crew and how he may supervise, and, you know, the what ifs that may happen when things don't go smoothly. I think they have to get together and talk. And does that mean there's a change in their job description? I mean, you might see something different, but I went through it and there's a lot of collaboration that happens between Bill and Kim and Bill, and also with Michelle.
Yeah.
So I think just cleaning up who does what, and they understand it, so there's agreement.
I agree.
I mean, may take a few meetings or a couple meetings.
So shall we get started on the town administrator job? Does that sound like a good idea?
Or maybe you guys have a different
Yeah.
thought.
I mean, do you want to come out of this at the end of the day with revised job descriptions that we all agree on and can vote on and approve?
I don't know, I mean, this is it's not an easy job to do this, and it's, so I'm not sure what the committee had in mind,
So I think we just expressed
how they
that.
wanted to handle it.
So our idea is we would go through the job description with Bill here, and we would talk about the various roles and responsibilities, and to Kathy's point, we would talk about connection to other job responsibilities. And then we would edit, make change, come out of it on the other end with a revised job description.
How's everybody gonna feel about this?
Is that not the reason we discussed doing job description?
Well, I think we came about job descriptions, is we had the executive session. That's where that person came to us with a concern. We said that we would look into it.
The job description is the basis on which we do the performance appraisal. It has in it what the roles are and what the expectations are, and that's where the feedback comes from. How well are you meeting the expectation of the job?
And if you look at Bill's, and it's, to me, it's a lot that he does, and it's pretty overwhelming. He does a great job. And we went through this with Bill when we interviewed him, and we got a lot of information.
Well, did you meet with Bill and
We
review
did,
his
we
job
met with
description?
Bill and we met with
Well, what
Danny.
were the comments?
Well, we can go over those, but the problem with that is that when we met with Bill, we used the assistant town administrator job description, which was done in 2017. And Bill did not object. This is the job description that we used. Subsequently, and I think connected with this, when Bill sent out the job descriptions to all of us, we received the one that was in September of 2020. We received a more up-to-date one.
Well, that's the one that the board has always had.
Well, it hasn't always had it because it was done in September of 2020.
Yeah, that's what I mean, but it was done, I mean, I have it in my book here, and that was.
Yeah,
That was
well,
the job description.
I don't know, Bill, why we didn't know about this version of it, why you didn't mention it to us, but it's neither here nor there. The issue is that we can find no record of select board review or approval of this job description from September 2020. I don't know if there is any from September 2020. I know you sent a couple of documents out after I reviewed it right before the select board meeting. Did you ultimately find the minutes?
No,
Bill?
there's not, the only two times I could find in all the minutes was in I sent to you guys, 1999. But I don't know what they approved, but they approved some job descriptions, and in 2020, February 2019,
Right.
all these job descriptions, except for mine, were approved. Other than that, I haven't.
But where were they approved? That's, I mean, I asked for a copy of the.
February 4th, 2019, I sent it to you, the minutes of February 4th, 2019.
But how can that be when this is adopted in September?
No, not mine, everybody else.
That's, all right, that's what
Okay,
it.
so, but my point is,
Uh-huh.
the select board only 1% of the time ever bothered to approve a job description. They
So
never
Joe-
ever did it.
Joe said to me in his note,
Suzanne,
him, myself were part of the rewrite and was then approved by the full board.
hey Suzanne, we don't need this, I don't care what was done in 2018, or 15, or 20. We're going over a personnel, job description that we have in front of us, we're gonna make changes in it, and then we'll vote on it.
Okay.
Who cares what happened 3 years ago?
I'll share with you why you might be interested, John.
I'm not interested.
In 2017 to 2020, the work hours went up from 32 to 34, and an entire body of responsibilities was added to the job description called, and they have to do with this whole thing on this page.
That's because, Suzanne, they
I thought it
hired,
was
they used to
interesting
hire,
how that was
that's
done.
because they used to hire a person to be a secretary.
Right.
They didn't hire an attorney.
Mhm.
Therefore, nor did they hire somebody who had 10 years' experience working with 24 VSA Chapter 117, which is all the regulations for the town.
Right,
So when they hired me and asked me if I'd do more work. They had no job description when they hired me. They had none. So I made this job description up, and it's what the board has always used since hiring me. They've used this job description, but it took me a while to do it. They just never adopted it. So, but what difference does it make?
I don't understand how you can say what difference does it make.
It doesn't make any difference.
So it made a huge difference last week that we had not used a form that the select board had presented.
No, that's a whole different thing.
Ballgame.
How is that a different ballgame than?
Because this is the job
approving
description that was approved.
No, that's a whole different thing. You guys approved a bunch of stuff without following your town policy that you were working on, that was the old policy, which says annually, you will have written evaluation of the employees,
Right.
signed by them and filed in there. That was always done in the fall before we finished budget. That has not been done.
Right,
Okay,
And-
that's a whole different issue.
okay, so I'm just trying to get clarification. We say things are approved by the board and they're not. They're not approved by the board. Bill, okay, why are we even doing this then? If it makes
What's the difference with the fact that they didn't do it in the past? It's a really good idea, I agree with you, that they approved these policy things so that there's something, personnel policy is approved. The fact is, except for 1999 and February 4th of 2019, when the highway was approved, there is never, ever, there's no indication from any minutes that I could find doing word search that any job description was ever approved. Ever.
Listen.
I cannot believe that a select board would not be doing a more responsible job if we approved job descriptions on the basis of which we employ, review, and pay.
Who said different?
Okay.
Who said anything?
So are we gonna approve this one when we come
I
out?
hope you guys are going to
Let's go
approve.
over this and then we'll take things out, put things in, and we approve them. But what happened in the past
It
is.
just doesn't make any difference. This is, we've been operating under this. Bill was hired, I think I'm the only one on the
Joe,
board.
if you know that it has never been approved before, then why did you write to me? It's been approved. by
Because
the
I would assume it was, Suzanne. I'm not a mind reader. And you know something? It's a long time ago and I forget. And you bring up all these little tickling points, but this is what Bill was hired for, this is what he does. And if you don't like his job description, change it. If he's doing something, he shouldn't change it. But this is what we have. Why are we spending a half an hour trying to decide where it is? And besides that, you're not even following your own things. The personnel committee, it's not your job, the committee, to go and tell Danny and when he can take off and reform. Bill Kearns is the one. Danny comes to Bill, and Bill goes to Danny and says, I'm gonna go on vacation, and Bill then comes to us. It doesn't go through the personnel committee, and it doesn't say it here, it was never intended to be. And so,
Bill, help me out here. The last time we talked about this on December 20th, you said it was the right thing to do for you and for Danny to come to the personnel committee for the.
no way, no way. If you wanna change this personnel, that's no problem. But we do things differently here. We do things, if you wanna make something on the board, we vote on it and we approve it, okay? You can't make changes unless we all agree.
The problem is, I mean, one of the things that this is designed, and it says 3 times in the job description. I have no authority. I'm a conduit to you guys. But the information all has to go through one place. Because otherwise, no one knows who to rely on. Danny, if he's gonna take time off, he either tells all of you by sitting here tonight and telling you, I'm taking Tuesday and Thursday off next week, or he writes to me and says, please tell the board all this is gonna happen. That's how it happens. And that's part of what this job description says.
Well, it's an easy fix, that sounds like, it's not saying more.
And if you wanna change it, we can change it. I mean,
I think there's some confusion about who does what. And that's what job descriptions are supposed to clarify. So why don't we go through this now, and we've all agreed that at least in this round, we will agree with job description. I feel like I'm held accountable for having certain things approved, and then I'm told that who cares whether it's approved? It's confusing to me. Anyway.
No
putting
one
that aside-
said, we don't care if it's not approved. We're telling you, it makes no difference that it was approved, because this is what we've been following. But I want it approved.
Okay.
I wish all these procedures, I wish the procedures from 1999 to today were approved. But I happen to know, because I have them all down in my file, 2006, 2008, 2014. A whole bunch of personnel policies were done. Is there any minutes on it? No.
And there are minutes on this one, the new one.
On everybody but me.
yeah, there's no
No,
minute.
I meant on the personnel policy. Okay, so let's go through this now then, and see if we can clarify that. Okay, so are there any questions about the position summary?
I have none.
I have a question about facilitate communication between members of the select board. Is that what we just talked about?
Yes.
That's the first place it talks.
You have to have a central communication. And the PA is the disseminator of whatever needs to be happening. And if you don't have that, then you get confusion, because you tell Bill something happens, it's a document, it gets emailed to everybody, okay? If it's Danny sick and Bill knows it, he tells the board that Bill's sick. So you gotta have a central communication. So that's really, to me, the crux of it, and this has been a problem over the years with select boards, that there has not been a central, informational hub, so to speak.
Okay, so let's keep that in mind and keep talking. So on specific duties and responsibilities, review, administer, coordinate employee benefit programs, and maintain records.
Right.
Okay, no comment on that. On administer, maintain personnel management records, manage general employee relations, investigating and resolving various personnel problems. I think we should add in consultation with the select board and the personnel committee. I don't think that's an independent action on the part of the town administrator.
Administer, personal policies. Policy for the rules and regulations. But remember that every, whether it's one item in this thing or not, everything goes to the select board. So if he's administering a workplace or a personnel policy or something of that nature, that's also email or hard copy to us.
And you're agreeing that we could add in consultation with the select board.
No, I don't think it needs to be. If he just does it, that's part of the job.
But this isn't about Bill. We're not talking about Bill's performance. We're talking about a job description.
Yeah, I'm talking about a job
We're trying to
description.
be clear about the communication. And I'm suggesting we add in consultation with the select board to bullet point number
Well,
2.
we're talking about communication.
Yeah.
I don't see how that helps. I don't see why it's necessary.
I don't know what in consultation
Yeah,
is.
So if you're doing a personnel investigating and resolving a personnel problem, you would consult with the select board about what you're gonna do about it.
But he doesn't resolve the problem. It's up to the board to resolve the problem.
Investigating and resolving, Joe, it says right here. Investigating and resolving various personnel problems.
Maybe resolve should.
Maybe the resolver should come out.
Okay, that's fine. Maintain personnel records and files, administer the 911 system. The drug test, the preparation of financial reports, annual town budget, town reports, meeting scheduling. Is that something that Bill does, that the town administrator does in
I think,
collaboration with the
I think that it was different when the administrator did, financial stuff. So I think it was just, I think you should put, something that says I assist as needed the treasurer with those jobs.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
Yeah, just so that the new board members know, the old TAs did the payroll. And so they did the payroll. And when, Emily was hired, it was a disaster. And, that's when, we terminated her. And then Kim and I sat down to discuss it, and then we decided with the board decided that we would hire somebody to do the payroll, and that's what happened. And that the TA would no longer be involved with that, and I think that probably, Bill's right, he probably some language got into the shit.
so are we adding assist as needed with treasurer in preparation of financial reports?
Yeah, because that's what Bill does.
Kathy, did I interrupt you?
He's not really preparing the financial
No.
reports, so it's assisting the treasurer in her, or can't use.
In the preparation of, okay.
Please, preparation.
Yeah,
No, because then it won't read right. We're gonna say assist as needed with treasurer in the preparation of.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, the next point is researching and applying for additional funding sources for the town, such as grants, low interest loans and funding programs. So this is something that is, one of those connecting points, as Kathy mentioned. Kathy, you want to expand on that, the roles and responsibilities aspect for Bill and Danny?
Well, I know with, the loans and the funding, oftentimes Kim is relied upon on the interest loans. And then you've got Danny with, the highway grants. And even with the FEMA stuff that he just did, that's gotta be coordinated between he and Bill. So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Bill.
No, I think that this, if we're looking for almost except for low interest loans, I think. Everything else I do. But I wouldn't cross out low interest loans because there are times that Kim and I work on that together. But I thought you might put in there this, I don't think you would do a preliminary appraise. I think you would do a appraise between that first sentence and the second sentence that says, this work is often done in cooperation with the clerk treasurer and the highway foreman.
And when you, think about how the work is divided with Danny on either a Better Roads grant or a FEMA grant, what do you do versus what does Danny do as far as grants are concerned?
Danny gives me the raw data and I put it all together. I put the application together.
There was a specific comment somewhere since I've been sitting here the last few weeks that, and I don't really remember the details, if I'm saying something incorrect, please stop me. It was something along, well, the town foreman used to do this, now Bill gets stuck doing it, and one saying about the roads grants or something.
No, originally, before Bill came, Danny was doing a lot of the grants and stuff. And then it was given over to Emily to do. And then when Emily was terminated, then Bill picked it up. That's the history of that.
It's been pretty much the town administrator all the way back to who's that lady's name, that was, married to the electrician?
Well,
Lisa.
Lisa, yeah, Mancuso, it's way back to there. I mean, that's what the town administrator has been doing for 20 years.
but the job that Lisa McKisso did when I was on the board, she was the first PA that the town hired, was just basically a secretary. I mean, there was none of this complication with grants and
Right.
any of this kind of stuff. It was
Wow.
completely.
I think what we're trying to do now is just understand, because there's no mention of grants, providing any information for grants in the road foreman job description that I could find. So we're gonna need to sort out in these job descriptions, who does what.
Well, okay, if you get way too particular on this, you're gonna screw the whole thing up. That's my opinion. Danny is aware of grants. He basically says, Bill, look at this grant. He and I work on the grant together. Again, he gives me the raw materials, which is like, what is the cost gonna be? What is the road gonna look like? And he does the little sketches of the maps for the stone line ditches and stuff like that. And then I put all that together, send it in, and then at the end of it, I go through all his timesheets, add up all the timesheets. It has to make sure his guys do the timesheets right, so the grant is specified on this day we worked on that grant. I put all that together and then I do all the financial things, and it's all a format that I do and then send it in. So I do almost all the paperwork. He gives me rough information to do it. But don't make it too complicated.
This worked very well.
He and I,
Forever.
and it's the same with Kim.
Yeah, it may be working well, just making sure he knows what he's supposed to do and you know what you're
Why don't you
supposed to do.
add Bill's name to Danny's job description?
Yeah, but when we get to Danny's, we'll go over that, John. But I think that we've clarified some of it already in terms of.
So just in between those, that I worked with Kim and Danny on.
With the clerk and the highway supervisor.
So when you interviewed the road foreman, there was no confusion what he was supposed to be
No,
doing?
there's definitely confusion. There's definitely confusion. And there's not only confusion, there's a rub.
Like what?
I mean, that's part of when John and Joe have identified some of these issues, part of the issue is people don't understand what their roles and responsibilities are.
I don't have any, between he and I have no.
No, I'm not saying you do. I'm not saying you do. There's a lack There's a lack of understanding of who does what. Okay, so now then we're at grants, low interest loans and funding programs, and we've headed this work done in cooperation with the clerk and the highway supervisor.
And the treasurer,
Pardon me?
and the treasurer.
Clerk treasurer.
Okay,
Say that again, I'm sorry, I didn't follow that.
okay, so before the bullet that goes researching and applying, it says this work done in cooperation with clerk, treasurer, and highway supervisor.
No, I'd put it in between the two sentences.
I'll wait for the email.
It doesn't matter, but I like it better between the two sentences.
Between,
Before with the select board approval.
oh, okay,
After program and before with.
okay. Okay, when it says your duties may include those of a confidential nature, what, can you give an example, not of a specific one, but what that might be, Bill?
Could be anything that you were gonna bring to an executive session. Could be
Okay.
contracts, it could be
Okay,
grievances, it could be anything.
okay.
And it could be anything in the personnel files.
And when you look at the, establishes and maintains sound and efficient office management procedures, and then the next bullet, investigates methods for improving cost control, containment, and increasing efficiency of town services. Would that also fall into the category of collaborating with the clerk and the treasurer on that?
Yes.
Mhm.
What about the one before that? You didn't do nothing to that one?
What did you want to say about it, John?
Well, as you go down through, it says update the procedure manual. Is that something he does or the personnel committee does?
I think what they're talking about there is, with, no, don't misread that, and you might want to clarify that. And it's something that needs to be done. I have a bunch of notes, it's kind of ragtag right now, I need to take our policies and procedures manual and make sure the policies and procedures that various committees and people have approved is in the manual. I don't go through there and say, oh, this should change and change it. No,
If it needs to be changed, then it goes to the select board and it goes on the
goes
agenda.
on that, but what I changed is making sure that the updated policies are in there. They are in there, it just needs to be, that needs to be rearranged.
Okay.
Okay. Any comments on prepares, distributes, and mails correspondence? Reviews and prepares correspondence, documents, reports, legal documents. What do you mean by legal documents there?
Contracts, whatever.
So maybe we should be specific about contracts. Because that is, okay. Would you be comfortable with that?
I think you should say legal
The
documents.
document, it's
What
not on the
other-
contract.
What
Could be
other,
something else.
would that fall?
Could be a lawsuit,
That wouldn't, that the town attorney or some other,
Like what?
well, I don't know, that's the reason I'm asking.
Legal
That's legal
documents,
documents.
leases, deeds,
yeah.
contracts,
Okay,
could be a whole bunch of stuff.
okay,
I'm not,
You're good about letting us know, like a warning or a bid, timelines.
okay, leave that then.
Yeah, leave it alone.
Yeah, okay. I just was getting clarification. Prepares for meetings, including agendas, research and gathering information for the select board and community. I think maybe we should add minutes there and ensures recording of all public meetings.
say again,
So I put that for agenda.
Add minutes.
Add minutes.
okay.
Okay, and so since I wasn't around and Rich and maybe Kathy wasn't around, when this part of the job description was added in 2020, acquires and maintains a working knowledge of relevant chapters of relevant titles of Vermont statutes. concerning issues raised by work they are doing or intended to do on regulations or projects. Maybe you could help us understand what the nature of the discussion was, adding this to the town administrator's job description.
If the administrator is going to do any of those things that is listed on the first page, if they don't know chapter 117 in and out, you don't want to hire them.
No,
Or don't give them an information.
this is a very important thing here, because this is where you have an issue, we go to Bill, Bill does the research and keeps us honest.
So are you saying that in future, with future town administrators, this now is an expectation of the town administrator job? This is
Absolutely.
not person specific because Bill happens to be a lawyer.
You don't have to be a lawyer to be familiar with the chapters. Helps.
If you had somebody from the RPC who worked in planning, in the RPC, working with the towns, like I used to do, but a lot of them do, they are familiar with chapter 117, because that's what they do every day. They're not attorneys, but they know what the law is.
Okay.
And that's what, if you don't, if you're gonna hire somebody to be the town administrator and they don't have this background, you need to change, you probably need to change the description again, but you also gotta know that you're not gonna have somebody who can correct you or keep you from going into things that are in trouble.
Okay, and,
I'll give you a really good example. When I went to Springfield, they had regulations on the downtown on what color you could use for your awning, what color you could use for, on all the businesses. You can't do that. They aren't, we're a state where the only regulations that a town can have are the ones the state allows you to have. And that takes chapter 117 is.
Yeah.
so you're saying also there's a connection between this knowledge and fulfilling these
Yeah,
responsibilities.
that and the things.
Well, this is helpful. This is why I was going to listen to the discussion in the approval of the job descriptions, because I wanted to understand the flavor of that discussion. Okay, assist in the negotiation of contracts, agreements, and purchases. And I guess what you're saying, Bill, is that it's not within the role and responsibility of the highway supervisor
No way,
to get into the negotiation.
no way.
Okay, so Danny's, the highway supervisor's role is strictly to provide you with the data.
Yeah.
The data,
Yeah.
okay.
Now, that said, okay, just so you know, he does a lot of the purchases on his own. He knows a lot better than I. He knows prices, he knows all that stuff. So, yeah.
But the negotiation part is up to you.
If we're gonna negotiate it into.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, assist in the development of and review of town policies, implements and facilitates policies, acts as a liaison between the select board, federal and state agencies, or other town boards. I think the operative word there is A, not B.
Whoa. Access and lay it on between, yeah, the select board
Federal or state agencies and
and
other
the
town
town
boards.
boards. Okay,
Okay. Attends state, regional, and local, meetings as a representative, assists other town departments with performance of their duties. What does that mean?
Well, hard to give examples, but if Kim needs, there's always cooperation between us and getting, usually it's very small tasks.
Okay, I get it, yeah.
Okay, and I might do the same thing for the highway
Yeah.
people.
Okay. Holds office hours, advises and assures select board, development review board, comply with laws and regulations in their meetings and in the manner in which they perform their tasks. We cool with that?
Yeah, I have no problem.
Prepares, posts, and mails and publishes bid requests. Develops and maintains skills required for routine computer. Maintain and update the town webpage, Facebook page, and other current events.
Do we have a Facebook page, Bill? We don't.
Kim does.
We don't.
I don't do Facebook. No, in fact, after, you might take out Facebook
Yeah,
because,
we don't have a Facebook.
because,
The board voted, many years back not to have a Facebook.
well, there is a policy with regard to our webpage.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly being asked by agencies that are probably, would be good to have on our webpage, but they're not state agencies, like, the Grafton Terrace has never done it, but people that assist the elderly and so on want to have a link from our website. The problem is you don't control the information on their website. We don't have somebody 24 hours a day watching the website, and therefore we don't want any links
Yeah.
to anybody else's website, because you don't know what's gonna be on the website.
So we take out Facebook page?
I would take out.
I would take one.
Okay, so
It breaks my heart, but yeah, you can put one.
any questions on professional management, NIMS training, other tasks and requested by the select board or town department?
The only thing I would say is, I think you might say you might put in some control of the select board over maintaining membership in professional management associations. For instance, I don't belong to any. And I don't have time. I can get all their information, but I don't belong to any of the management organizations.
But thinking about the role of the town administrator, and not just you personally,
Yeah.
do you think it's good to have it in there, Bill, or?
I think you should allow it, but I think there should be, under the direction of the select board or something like that. I don't know what you want to put, but I think the select board should be involved in that. Otherwise, you might have a person that joins everything, and there's really no reason to do that.
I see what you're saying. So,
I mean, there's a bunch of organizations, I still get membership requests for that. In the past, they have been members of, and I don't really see any benefit to spending $200 a year to belong to an organization, to go to meetings that I don't think are that beneficial.
so I think I just want to ask one general question to make sure that we as a select board are in agreement on Bill's role, so that there's not any misunderstanding among us, which I think there has been. When we say that the town administrator's job description contains all of these things for communication, we're not saying that as select board members, we don't also have communication responsibilities and with these various organizations and groups. Sounds like we're not, okay. So moving on to the general expectation, TA is hired by subject to, the TA shall remain neutral in all matters concerning the town. Any question about the TA shall be called upon to recommend? In no event shall the TA interfere with the statutory duties and roles of the select board, neither through public challenge or using subterfuge to undermine their authority. The town administrator during office hours and while on official duty shall not display favoritism or antagonism. When necessary, the town administrator will follow the personnel grievance process. Any questions on any of that?
Yeah.
Okay, and then so the qualifications, given the part that we've added here, or that was added in 2020 about chapters relevant in Vermont statutes. Does the paralegal training or Vermont municipal law is preferred? Does that capture the background that we need for the person to fulfill that
That's what
duty?
That's the idea.
Okay. It seems like since we are adding words that describe in this good planning, good writing, I think we should add the word accurate.
There.
Good planning, multitasking, and accurate administrative skills.
I don't know what that means. I think what you're saying, that the person has good planning, multitasking, and administrative skill, good writing and oral presentation skills.
So that.
You won't know if they're accurate. How would you know?
How do you know they're good? Is it
Because
qualification?
because you can read what they write.
But I think that's the same way we can tell whether it's accurate.
Quality.
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 I mean, I do think we have an expectation of the town administrator to be accurate.
Well, yeah, but I think that's a given.
Yeah, I think it's a given. I mean,
Well, it wasn't a given well enough to me to know that, to see that it was not a word that was used in the qualification. And
Well,
I don't want to talk about performance. This is strictly the expectations for the job. And it seems to me that reports that are accurate, that have correct dates, that have, little errors in them, few errors in them, this is something that we expect of an administrative person, town administrator. I don't know, Kathy, how do you feel about it?
I hear what you're saying.
I'm saying I don't think it's necessary.
I was thinking instead of good, it's quality.
Quality? I'm fine to say quality. Rich, do you have?
Good quality writing and
Good
oral presentation skills.
Yeah.
And administrative skills. I'm fine with that, good quality.
I'm fine with it.
Okay. All right, I think we're done.
Now, do you want to, we should now adopt this?
Well, I think we better write it, get a draft of it,
Well, yeah, all right.
because we don't really,
Is there anything else on this list, Bill, that you just want to cross out? How about any addition? Any additions you want to add to the list?
Say again?
Any addition?
No.
So I think what does need to happen though, I think, is from what I've heard, I think you and Danny need to sit in the room and say, okay, when it comes to grants or whatever, this is what I'm doing, this is what you're doing, and maybe you do it here some night, and it's.
Well, I think we ought to bring Danny in. Just like we did that with him.
Exactly.
I just want to make sure that, I would be a little surprised if he doesn't understand our relationship when we're dealing with grants. I mean, we've always done it.
so, Bill, I think we've got to separate out.
Oh, no.
From an expectation.
No, I agree with that. So yes, I think it should be stated in here. So, but I think Danny can change his job description with you without, well, dealing with me, but I'd really be happy to be present so that we know, I think there's any.
I think it should be.
I think Danny and Bill need to be present.
They both need.
Danny and Mike don't need to be because they have nothing to do with the
Right,
PA.
right.
But Danny
Yep.
is, and actually Kim in a way, they both need to work together because there is no direct, there is no straight line. There's.
Well, what I can suggest is that Danny and I and Kim get together, go over what you guys did here, after you get it redone,
Yeah,
okay? And we sit down and go over it, just to see if there's anything on here, and then with Danny's job description, we can take his job description and help you guys out to meet and discuss it before you guys even get it back. So
You don't think that the
I just
assistant-
want to get clear, I'm sorry, Don.
Well, if he's still the assistant, he should be on there.
Yeah,
If that's what the
he
board
could
wants
be
to do.
included too, if you have assistant, should he be there, because you never know, Danny might be out for 2 months sick or something, then the assistant comes on, and
Well,
he brought it up.
No, you'd
What
have
does he do?
to, no, you'd have to do it with the assistant, but what I'm saying is Danny and I could just work out if there's any issues in the way this written.
But wait a
But
second.
but if that isn't helpful, then fine, you don't need to.
I just need to understand something. Isn't it true that the reporting structure is that the town administrator reports to the select board
Mhm.
and the highway supervisor reports to the select board?
Correct.
Yes,
So why did you hesitate there, Joe?
no, he supports the selectmen through the administrator.
I don't understand where through the administrator is a part of Bill's job.
Well, somebody has to, if Danny has a problem, is he gonna write to the 5 select board?
No, they come to the, what happens when Bill has a problem? When you report to the select board, Bill, what happens? The personnel committee does your performance appraisal, right?
No, I mean, you're talking about everyday things, this is why you guys don't like getting emails. Every day say, when I have an issue, I bring it to all of you.
Right.
To resolve, that's you, and if I resolve a problem on my own, I also write to all of you, so you know that this can't get across my desk. That's the communication. And when Danny has a problem, Danny is fixing a truck. He doesn't have time to sit down and email all of you. He'd call me and say, Bill, I got this problem. And I'd say, okay, and I send the problem or the issue or the resolution of the issue or whatever they're gonna do to all of you. Because what, it isn't that Danny and I communicate to the select board, it's Danny and I communicate to the entire select board. There isn't any one person on that select board that has any more authority than anybody else.
No, it's a matter of what does the committee assignment mean?
No, there
To be
isn't,
the
there
personnel.
isn't anything through committee assignments. There's
No.
nothing through committee assignments. I know you guys didn't ever talk about approvals, the job description of the committees, but the committee, the personnel committee has always been, as far, I was on it for years when I was on the select board, and you guys clerk can correct me if I'm wrong, has always been to, basically do the interviews in the fall, fill out the written things, have the person sign it, they sign it, and file it with the thing. That's all the personnel committee does. They don't have any authority to do anything else, ever. They've never done anything. Now, if you want them to have that authority, then give them that.
We can't micromanage a lot of this stuff because, I mean, say if you leave, Danny leaves or whatever, the other person, you're gonna have a totally different relationship with that person, and he may have a stronger suit on, just throwing something out there, the FEMA grants. He may have a stronger suit than you do on something, and you're gonna bounce back and forth. But some of the stuff does have to be a little bit loose, because it kind of depends on the personalities that you're dealing with, but this specifically, from what I've been hearing, again, not to repeat myself, but I think you and Danny should sit in the room here, whatever, and hash out specifically what you're gonna do, what he's gonna do, and then 5 years down the road, if there's a different person in that position, that may change. But for right now, that's what really needs to happen.
Could we?
If I could maybe shed some light, it's all well good, you can have this job description, you can have it 40 pages. When it comes to, in particular in Bill's case, when it comes to dealing with Kim, with the clerk, or the treasurer, or the boards, personalities come in. And, when Emily was the TA for a couple of years, Kim and Emily couldn't even say good morning. It was awful. And so Kim was always on her back. She wouldn't talk to Kim because she didn't want to You could have all the job descriptions in the world, it didn't work. And then when Bill, after we had 3 interviews, 3 people, and Bill was chosen by the board to take it over. Immediately, the chemistry was there. And forget about all the job descriptions, you don't even have to, they just did it, like it was seamless. Because Bill had experience that Kim didn't have, Kim had the experience that Bill didn't have, and they worked together. And so you can put a lot of this stuff in writing, but the truth of the matter is, you gotta be able to work together. And if Kim were to be not elected and a new clerk came in, there might not be that relationship. And what's gonna happen when Bill retires one day, and somebody else comes in, they might not have the same relationship. You can have the job description, it doesn't make any difference.
Of course, I totally
It just does.
understand what you're saying. When you ask the personnel committee to do job reviews, the job reviews need to be based on the expectations of the job and how the performance is doing relative to those. The personnel committee is responsible to do the performance reviews for the town administrator and for the highway supervisor. So therefore, the select board needs to have input to the highway supervisor job description.
I'll agree with
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I think we need to go over that. I think we could either wait or we could do it now. I don't think there's very much to change at all. And I totally agree with Rich's recommendation that once we get a job description for the town administrator and the highway supervisor, that the next step would be for Bill and Danny to sit down. But I think we, as the select board, ought to hash out the highway supervisor job description. Did anybody have any concerns? First of all, we need to, I'm recommending that we change the job description from road foreman to highway supervisor, which is consistent with the way it's put in the personnel policy.
What is VLCT talk about?
I wasn't listening to
So I looked up the LCT
You
today.
want to change the road foreman to road supervisor, what is the?
It doesn't matter, you can call them whatever the heck you want. I mean,
Okay.
some towns call them the road commissioner, sometimes call them the
Well, we
supervisor.
are the road
The
commissioner.
VLCT,
Foreman.
But sometimes.
I looked that up today.
No, we are not.
Joe, I looked that up today. And the VLCT has issued a report in October of 2021, and it says, to ensure that the wording of job descriptions and job postings are age and gender neutral. For example, highway supervisor is a gender neutral title that can replace road foreman. So I think when you
We
ask
don't
the
have to
question,
do that, we don't have to do.
we don't have to do it, it's a best practice, and I'm recommending that we do it. If it doesn't matter, why don't we just do it and make it more?
I like road foreman. Sort of.
I couldn't care less.
I don't really care. I mean, and why does it make a difference? Why don't you call him the highway commissioner? That's what he really is.
Well, because really.
No,
I mean, the road, the road commissioner.
Look, I'm the only one of the select board that wants to change it, but it's not gonna get changed, I understand. I do think that there is a question about, and Joe asked it, what is the VLCT best practice? And the best
No, I
practice
just-
is to change it.
I had no problem with road foreman, believe me, that's been that
Okay,
way for 25 years, but I've been around, so.
If someone wants to type it definitely, I'm fine. If someone don't, I'm fine with that too.
okay. All right, so we'll leave that at road foreman, but I'm glad, I just wanted to get that part out on the table. But it's definitely not worth, too much time. And is it accurate that the primary town administrator, the access permit policy is the road foreman?
Where are you reading
I
that?
can
Like
understand. what you're
number
saying.
3?
The road foreman is the primary town administrator for the access permit policy. including processing highway access permits, inspecting work in progress, final inspections, approval, permit, release, of the access.
That's correct. He is,
Secretary is the administrator,
yes,
Bill.
yeah, he's the primary person. And I do it secondarily, or I do it when he has a conflict, like he's doing a driveway up on Anderson Road.
Okay. And then we've already talked about grant writing. What shall we add in here, just to be clear that there is some level of grant writing responsibility? Because Danny has spent quite a bit of time this year writing grants, or providing data for grants and providing data for the FEMA situation.
I think you should have something like aware of grants that are related to, the work on the town highways, improvement of the town highways, improvement and repair of the town highways, and assist and bring those grants to the attention of the town administrator, and assist the town administrator by preparing the data needed for the application of the grant.
See, Danny has more access to what the grants are than what Bill does.
Got it.
Because he works in a different circle, and he gets all that stuff from.
Well, actually, it all comes up,
Well, I guess so, but.
I get all that information now.
Yeah, I guess.
But that said, there's another 10% that comes
Yeah.
by word of mouth from the other highway departments, yes.
Okay, so, do we want to add the part about awareness or not?
Yeah, I think to be aware of and bring those to the attention to the town administrator and assist in the preparation of the application. But if you want to be specific, assist in the preparation of the application by providing the data needed.
I think that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to add a bullet
Yes.
to that effect. Be aware of highway grants, bring them to the attention of the town administrator, and assist the town administrator by providing data needed to complete the grant,
To complete the grant application.
to complete the grant application. Okay, and then I would also suggest that in the
Well,
bullet,
let me add another thing.
sure,
I don't know if you wanted to, the next bullet point, I would think you could say, and then on the completion of the work,
mhm,
assist, and then the language could be all the same, assist in the, what do you call it? And presenting the invoice to the, granting entity, in order to get the money at the end, so.
no, I don't know exactly how to word that. Do you?
I don't know either, but
Do you
what
want
it
to
is.
put a bullet together to that effect and just send it to me?
Well,
Since I'm gonna be doing the typing.
let me just think a second.
Okay,
Assist, when the grant work is done, assist the administrator in preparing the closing documents and the invoice.
Yeah, completion of.
upon
Completion of the
completion
project,
of the completion of the project.
assisting in the preparation of the papers to seek reimbursement from the agency,
Within the
the
data.
granting agency.
And what does that actually look like? What does he do when he does that, Bill?
He brings the pictures, he brings the, pictures of the work that he's done. He brings, tells me that,
That they delivered the data.
no, he tells me from whom they bought the materials, what to look for, or he gathers sometimes, most of the time, he gathers the timesheets, the invoices that are effective and so on. All those invoices that you sign off on, And then, yeah, and it brings that to me. And then, and what I have to do then is, I also do that and I get the copies of the checks because if there's ever not, if they want copies of the checks, so then I do that too, but he provides me with all the information of where to look.
Is it pretty much true that the highway, well, I call it, the road foreman does the work that's outside and taking photos, doing measurements?
Yeah.
That's outside, and the town administrator does work that's inside, writing the report?
He does, most of the work that he does is the actual performance of the grant. And he provides me with the data so that I can do the paperwork, yeah.
Okay.
It's just in the fire.
And I think some of this will come out when they meet.
Yeah, well,
For sure. And then, the only other thing I would recommend, is supervises, in the bullet, supervises road crew, develops work schedule.
Yeah.
I've got that in the paint work schedule. We talked about that with him.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then the final thing I wanted to, and Kathy, jump in here too. The final thing I wanted to call to your attention as the select board, and this to our attention, is the assistant road foreman job description has job duties for temporary and long-term absence. I'm wondering if we should separate out long-term absence, because when we add it into the same job description, it makes it a totally different job description, because it means that this person has to do everything that the road foreman does in the event of a long-term absence. And it's my sense that if that happened, if we had a road foreman who was going to be out for any length of time, we would deal with that as the select board, and it wouldn't automatically fall on the shoulders of the assistant road foreman.
Does that say so in that?
No, that's why I'm bringing it to your attention, John.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I think that's a good idea.
Okay. So I think we'll go ahead and try to separate that out and,
Well, I think you've already separated out, just make it a temporary absence.
yeah,
we just correct them all along.
Take out anything that is long-term, but I don't see much in there that's long-term.
But in
well,
the,
it's pretty much a number of these bullets that are right underneath.
but
I'll
in,
take a stab at it and we'll
but
take.
in the discussion, he told us this wasn't really, he was given this job description. So that needs to be clarified, what,
Right. Yeah. Go ahead, John.
Well, he had some ideas on his,
yeah, right.
descriptions. I wonder, we should have those before we finalize.
It's fine.
Yeah, we're not gonna
Okay.
follow this anyway.
No, I mean, I don't know, they.
Yeah, no,
Call him.
Tiffany and I can talk to him because we're gonna do an individual, meeting with him anyway, so. But again, the job description should be specific to the person. Also, we did change the title of the, primary truck road crew member. We did change that. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so you
So
can
we
find my idea about highway supervisor.
So are we done with,
I think we're done.
since we have no other public,
My minutes aren't gonna reflect all this discussion. I hope
No.
you guys realize.
Well, I think the next step, Kathy and I will go back and we will take these notes and try to turn them into, revised job descriptions, and we'll have those ready for the 17th.
there's
We'll
no
also
other,
complete the reviews by then.
Kim brought up the other business, I just have one thing, on other business, did you ever pick up the iPad from Wyndham Regional?
No, Danny said it wasn't ready yet. And the last time I went to Brattleboro, I checked with him and he said, no, it's not ready.
It's amazing to me, because I bought that thing almost a month ago,
I know.
and it's still sitting down there.
Every time I go to Brattleboro, I'll check with
I
Danny.
will tell you, it's not amazing to Danny.
I mean, it's amazing to me, I mean, this is a commission that works for us, it's something that's gonna make our job better, yet they refuse to do it, and it's just bothers
That's Danny now.
me. Yeah, I know, believe me, I'm not a big fan of doing the regional.
However, the guy who is slowly getting this done, he's really busy. When we need something that is far more practical than that,
He comes,
he's been really.
okay. That was it, my first.
Joe, do you want to go ahead and sign this personnel policy tonight, or where do you want to?
Well, yeah,
Take
yeah,
this.
that's okay. No? Is it ready?
Yeah, if you guys, yeah, if you can always change it, put another.
I mean, you ready to sign it?
No,
No.
I won't sign it because I don't agree with it. I voted against it.
Oh, okay.
But you only need 3 people to sign it.
You have to sign it tonight?
And again, we're gonna review it on the 17th, and we're gonna,
And then you don't want to sign it.
We're not gonna review
Yeah,
it.
that's what, I think that's exactly what I'm trying to ask is, are we ready? Are we going to put this up again for, adoption? Or are we going to stay with the adoption that we had on December 20th?
I think we need a little more information. I think we need to push the ball forward just a little bit more, I
Okay,
think.
Okay.
I think it would be better to wait until we have
So the
a more
answer
of
is
a
no.
consensus and be more thoughtful about it if that's what you'd like to do.
But I think on these job descriptions, I think it's important to get Bill's bullets of how he worded some of the things to you before you
Yeah,
do it all.
yeah. No,
No, I think that makes sense.
I think I captured it, Bill. I'll
Yeah,
verify.
and I don't think there's any big deal, and but Kathy, you weren't here. The only difference I found in the personnel committee between the 2 versions is that what you approved was that section 28, and in that section 28 that you approved, it said each request for time off, for comp time. And you made it very, and you underline each request, whereas in the text, it says requests, it says the old thing, which was requests for time off on comp time shall be presented to the supervisor.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know, the way it was written, it looked like somebody really wanted it to be each individual request.
Do you really want to have each?
No.
Each.
Okay,
is-
then
I don't, you know,
it doesn't make it.
it says here, request for use of comp time.
Yeah. And if you look at the very first, I have it marked here if you look at it.
But the difference is that you say each, that means if Davey wants to take off on Friday, he has to come every Friday and say, I'm taking it off. Or if he says, I want to take every Friday off for the rest of the summer, then he gets every summer. So that's how I look at it.
I mean, see, this is what you had on that separate page. What you have in there is your request.
Your question again, I guess, I
This
don't.
is what you have right there on that separate page, but that's not, and that's what by motion you guys adopted. Was that you actually adopted was requests. Was the other one.
The only version I'm gonna find that says request. Show it to me. What is the date here?
Oh, cool.
I think you gotta go by some comments.
So it's each request.
Uh-huh.
And what the text says is request.
I don't know how that, we're at request.
It doesn't, it has no
Yeah,
material
we're
there.
at request. We're not at.
That was a good catch, yeah.
Yeah, we're at request.
A motion to
So
adjourn?
I think what we need to do is we need to have a motion that says we are, no, in fact, I'll make the motion. I move that we reconsider the personnel policy as adopted on December 20th. We reconsider it on January 17th.
We don't need a motion for that, we can just decide.
We don't need to rescind something that we've already adopted and approved. I mean, it's in the minutes and everything.
No, you can always rescind.
Yeah.
Okay,
I would just say we we're gonna revisit it again at the next agenda.
I already have it, the policy on January 17th.
Regular session?
Okay.
Regular session?
Yeah, we have to discuss
Yeah.
personnel policy in regular session.
Personnel policy.
But then we're gonna do the reviews in executive session, John.
Well,
on the
we're gonna continue the discussion we had, on the 20th, on the 17th.
Right, so we'll put
Okay.
that,
Describe what are you doing in executive session, because I'm hearing two different things.
well, let me ask the question first. In the past, when you have reviewed the performance appraisal with the select board and gotten the select board approval, has that occurred in executive session?
Yes,
Okay, that's what we're gonna do in executive
if there
session.
was any issue at all. Generally speaking, they accepted the valuation, there weren't any issues, and the select board just accepted what but you guys want to talk and find out get to the bottom of some stuff.
Yeah,
And I think, yeah, that should be done in executive session, with each individual or any individuals you want all at the same time, but that should be done in the executive session, and that's a personnel matter.
yeah. Well, I think it's considered a discipline. It's just a,
It's that
In the
or
subsection.
or even, again,
yeah.
In the past, since I've been on it, the board had just accepted the reviews, or that's it, we're gonna go into executive session.
Well, the difference here, I think, is as follows.
No, I'm just saying that's
Oh,
what's
I
happening, I don't
see.
remember ever going into.
to answer your question, in actual fact of what has happened in the past, I don't ever remember going in,
No.
because there's never been an issue like there is today.
Yeah,
Yeah, and part of that could be because the performance appraisals reflect a different story than what we heard in the executive session. So I think what we need to do is straighten that out.
not a problem. All right, so could we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, I hope not. Okay. Thank you, everybody.